if I don't know what her side is, I wouldn't hazard a guess with but Atty. Hilbay has been very clear that his ground is constitutional. According to Atty. Hilbay, Ms. Jover has a right to privacy and the right to remain anonymous. My problem with that is it wasn't Thinking Pinoy who outed her exactly. Thinking Pinoy posited the theory that Ms. Jover might possibly be Ms. Jover Laurio might possibly be Pinoy Ako Blog, and it was Ms. Laurio who announced that she is. And she said, what of it? That was her reaction. So clearly, if she indicates that that it's not a big deal that she is Pinoy Ako Blog, then it shouldn't be a big deal that Thinking Pinoy was able to out her. However, that is the stand of Attorney Hilbay at the moment. Attorney Renka Domingo asks, Attorney, di ba pwede pilitin ang Rappler to show na second Senate hearing? If Senator Grace Poe issues a subpoena, then they can be compelled to attend. But the question is whether or not Senator Grace Poe would like to actually subpoena them. Remember that media organizations, whether it's a newspaper or a broadcast or a television station, they're always very conscious that when they're called or subjected to processes like court processes or the Senate's processes of compulsion to attend a hearing, they always put up the defense that this might be detrimental to press freedom or to freedom of the press. They can claim that by calling them to the Senate hearing and being held accountable for certain things will amount to a chilling effect. In other words, they will now be scared or frightened into writing other articles that may possibly be detrimental to the people who have issued that processes, like the Senate or the House or a court. So it's very likely that Rappler, even if issued a subpoena, might claim that it is detrimental to press freedom to show up, and therefore, as a matter of principle, they might not show up. I would disagree with that, of course, but doubtless that they will possibly raise that particular issue. Okay, reminder lang, for those who haven't shared yet, please do share. For those who haven't clicked the follow button, please do so, and subscribe to the live videos here. Please understand that the YouTube channels that have been showing this aren't my channels. So, but if you want to be informed immediately of a Facebook Live here, then subscribing to the live here on the app will be much easier. A person whose name I cannot read says, Attorney, I think kailangan na magtayo ng isa pang bureau like NBI para mag-focus lang sa D-stab plots. I think many will agree that TP and SAS, sorry, okay, nawala na. The destabilization, okay, there's no crime of destab. There are crimes like rebellion and sedition and other crimes that go into affecting the security of the state or affecting the existence of the state. And so these fall under the law enforcement agencies which are authorized to investigate it, like the PNP and the NBI. So what we need to do is not set up a separate bureau because you'll run into a lot of red tape that way. Also, it's going to be very difficult to pass legislation creating a new government agency and a new budget just for that when it can be covered by law enforcement. Remember, law enforcement agencies such as the NBI and the PNP are there to enforce the criminal laws. So there are already agencies that do that, and all we need to do is to upgrade them or to make them aware of how these things can link up to a possible crime such as rebellion or sedition. Hi, Attorney TCA, looking radiant today. No, it's my phone. Sana po magkaroon din na national forum or convention lahat ng pro-Duterte bloggers sometime and invite the president. For me, that actually is a good idea, but are you willing to organize that? Because I'm not. Sounds really tiring. Cristina B. Valeriano says, Yusek Abella is fine. He's actually very gentlemanly and so eloquent. I agree. We are also attorney that PRRD has expressed tolerance for dissent and he wants free speech. Also agree. What is irritating is hearing ABS-CBN and GMA reporting twisted and misrepresented facts. All right. For broadcast for broadcast media, then these have franchises. And we just need to examine whether or not covered in this franchise is the requirement to give news. Okay, you know the history of the evening news? In the United States, when television, history lesson, in the United States, when television was new and the U.S. Congress was giving out franchises, they told the channels, the broadcast agencies, that for 23 hours you can do whatever you want, show whatever you want, subject to obscenity laws and sedition and all of those other free speech laws. However, for 1 hour every day, that is what became known as the 6 o'clock news, the obligation of these television stations was to give service to the country, and that 1 hour of service was called the evening news. During that time, they were supposed to deliver current events, current things that were happening to the American public, and we patterned our franchises after this sort of pattern. When it came here, however, there was no actual requirement. Television stations just patterned their programmings after the United States. However, in the United States, there was one thing that they forgot. They forgot to tell the television stations not to have advertising or not to require advertising for the evening news. The reason for this was because it's supposed to be meant to be public service. However, since advertising was allowed for the evening news, some communications theorists believe that this led to the entertainmenting or the magazinifying of television news. The news that was being presented now became the news that they felt more people were going to watch. The evening news was not supposed to be part of the ratings game, but because there are advertisers, it now became part of the ratings game. And so we now have the phenomenon of the news being delivered by people who want to deliver it to the most number of people with profit in mind. The same holds true with printed media such as newspapers, because they want to deliver the kind of news that they feel people will want to read, which will explain what editorializing means. It means that some of these stories are deliberately angled for a wider viewership. That's why you have reporters trying to scoop each other, trying to get the news faster or first before everybody else. The problem is that, well, we can hold possibly through the franchises, the broadcast media, for their failure to deliver their public services. But it is difficult because newspapers do not have franchises. What they do have is a incorporation, and so therefore they're subject to the Securities and Exchange Commission. But this is where free speech comes in. We're very particularly conscious, as is the President, that any attempt to stifle free speech will be seen as as oppressive. And the President is a big believer in free speech. Now, holding people accountable for what they say, when what they say is not libelous or not otherwise punishable by law, is something that the President does not believe in. So, we have a President who clearly upholds the freedom of speech. So, if you have that kind of government policy, then going after people when they have clearly not disobeyed any laws, or it is, very difficult to call, may be considered as an inordinate oppression of free speech. So understand also that this is the paradigm that PCOO is working on. I'm not saying that PCOO is perfect, but what I'm saying is that the policy directive given by the President is not to suppress free speech, not to even look like you're suppressing free speech, and certainly not to be retaliatory. So until the President changes his directive, then the PCOO will be primarily focused on that particular function of simply delivering information. Vec Lucan Garcia asks, are you in favor of what Tatay Digong wants as a revolutionary government? I think that the President is in the best position to determine whether or not a revolution is necessary. So, but a revolution will happen with or without the President. So we will see. The President has made it clear that there has to be certain conditions present in order for there to be an actual revolution and for him to exercise to the fullest his executive powers. Miracle Sara Ito says, Atty. Trixie, sigurado po ba yung impeachment kay Andy Bautista pag bobotohan pa sa Senate? Okay, as I said earlier, impeachment is what happens in the House. In the Senate, it's called a trial. So he has already been impeached. He has not yet been removed. Those are two different things. Okay? RJ Nieto says, hi, Attorney. RJ, sorry I couldn't answer your call. I'll answer in a little while. Attorney, if they figure out, sorry. Guys, please give a shout out to Thinking Pinoy who's watching right now. Can you please, please, and please congratulate him for his excellent work on finding out, finding Kokoy, hashtag finding Kokoy, and on Miss Jover. He's also pushing the limits of jurisprudence right now, because whatever case comes out of this, Thinking Pinoy is going to be at the forefront of that. So guys, please say hi to Thinking Pinoy, and please thank him for all the good work that he's been doing and all the wonderful articles that come out of his blog. And also congratulate him, he has now reached the 1 million mark. Thinking Pinoy is now officially has 1 million followers. Hi TP, congratulations. Okay, other questions? Yes, I like that. Congratulations, TP, you're an online hero. And yes, please be safe. Ay nako ma'am, tip of the iceberg pa lang yan, sabi ni RJ, no tip of the ice plant. I agree. Okay, sige. Cleared ka na, your permission is granted. If my son says go. My daughter's looking at me really badly. Okay. Oy, kukonti pa lang ang nag-share. Yung mga hindi pa nag-share dyan, please go ahead and do so. If there are no other questions, what other questions do you want? Okay, congrats. O, puro congrats. Sige, wala nang questions, because if there are no more questions, I really have to take a phone call. RJ Nieto for 2022. Congrats to PP, yes. All right. If there are no more questions, remember, please, if you're going to remember something from today's Facebook Live, it is this. Number 1, impeachment is what happens in the House. Andy Bautista has been impeached. What happens in the Senate is a trial, and it is after trial and a finding of guilt that a public officer is removed from office. Therefore, Andy Bautista is still COMELEC chairman. Unless his resignation becomes effective, he will remain COMELEC chairman until after he is removed post-trial. So in the meantime, he is still COMELEC chairman. Any updates sa libel case na sinampa ni Secretary Piñol kay Frank Cimatu? None yet. I understand that Secretary Piñol has filed the case, but we don't know yet if Mr. Cimatu has responded. Okay, biglang dumami ang viewers nung dumating si TP. Yes, so we should also thank TP. Thank you very much, TP, for guesting. Guest yata talaga yung tawag sa'yo, no? Okay, anything else? Paano po, what happens kay Dayaw kung nasa likod nila na... okay. Which is why it would be interesting for the Senate to call Ms. Jover, because she can be asked whether or not she's actually acting alone. Her claims in her public pronouncements is that she's alone, and in fact, she's being spun as some kind of modern hero. So if there's anything that you can do for the President, it is this. It is to state clearly and categorically that Ms. Jover is not a hero. She is not the poster child for the freedom of speech. Ms. Jover has posted what can clearly be defined as libelous articles. She has gone beyond acceptable free speech and possibly treaded in what we call criminal speech, which is not protected. Remember, libel is not protected speech. Libel is not free speech. Libel is not going to fall under the constitutional prescription of the freedom of speech. So regardless, I think, of what Attorney Hilbay says. Hello ma'am, please share naman your international law notes. My international law notes about what? And you know, it's been a while since my last since my last exam in international law. So what I teach is fine arts, which is basically copyright and heritage law. Attorney, is there a maximum number of days for De Lima to be in jail without a technicality? No. Senator De Lima's crime, she has been charged with a non-bailable crime, which is the violation of the Dangerous Drugs Act. So there is no set number of days where she's in jail and then has to go free. What you're talking about might be where a person who has been caught without virtue of a warrant can be held without being charged. She has been charged, as a matter of fact. A warrant of arrest was issued for her, and the court has acquired jurisdiction over her. So, no, what needs to happen is for her to be arraigned if she hasn't yet been arraigned, or for trial to now proceed. If Senator De Lima feels that she is entitled to bail, then she can file a petition for bail and present evidence that that the evidence of guilt is not strong. So, Attorney, okay lang bang RevGov? No, I've already answered that one. Sobrang talino. Good job, RJ Nieto. Yes. Okay, if there's nothing else, non-bailable, masaya po kami sa news niyan. Yes, that's right. That's why, that's the reason why Senator De Lima went to the Supreme Court questioning her warrant of arrest. What she did was she went to the Supreme Court asking her for her warrant of arrest to be voided on the ground that it was filed before the Department of Justice and not before the Ombudsman. But the court correctly pointed out, the Supreme Court pointed out that she has been charged under the Dangerous Drugs Act, which is an exception to the jurisdiction of the Ombudsman. Under the Dangerous Drugs Act, the sole jurisdiction, the jurisdiction for the trial would fall under the regional trial court, and therefore the DOJ is the appropriate place to file the case against her. Flaviana Elma asks, please discuss how Jover will go to jail, lalo na nasa mga pinira niya. Well, if any of the 7 senators, or if all of them, file libel suits against Ms. Jover, they could possibly send her to jail if a finding of probable cause is made by the prosecutor's office, and you know, and the senators win at the prosecutor's office, there's a finding of probable cause, then it will be filed in court. So if the 7 senators file 7 different libel cases, she will go to jail, but she can file for bail for all of those libel cases. Bailable po kasi ang libel. But if she's found guilty by the trial court, then yeah, she will be sentenced. So there is a jail term for libel. Good evening, sabi ni Edsel, wala po bang magagawa sa mga fake news na ginagawa ng mga bloggers ng LP? Alright, this is important. Under Article 154, Unlawful Publications of the Revised Penal Code, if the false news affects national security or the national interest, then you can file a case for that. We have been getting reports that the OFWs in some areas are being harassed because they are being told that they are supportive of genocide or supportive of an administration that is killing its own citizens. We know this is not true. And nevertheless, the news of 13,000, 14,000 being killed can constitute fake news that affects the public interest. So cases can be filed against irresponsible reporting if this false news has a tendency to affect the national interest. So my guess is that we should be looking into that one. Perhaps the DOJ should be looking into this angle if we want to hold the purveyors of this false news to account for their statements. Under Article 154, bakit di pa nakakasuhan si Robredo? Because she's Vice President and she can only be removed by impeachment. So technically, can't well, that's a gray area. Maybe a case can be filed against her, but I doubt if it will be entertained. You can file a case against her after she steps down as vice president. I'm no longer answering questions about Trillanes' ethics case because I already posted it on my wall, and you always ask me that. Benny Rasmussen says, Atty. Trixie, you're so special to me. Like a special child. Thank you very much. Is it a conflict of interest that the consultant of government specific project? I'm sorry, I did not see that, so you'll have to repeat your question. Attorney, ano po nangyari sa kaso ni Lenny Robredo? Okay, for those who are asking for updates on cases, this is what I'm going to do. Every time something happens, I will announce it on Facebook Live and discuss it with you. If nothing has happened, then there is nothing that happened and there's nothing to discuss. In the case of Ms. Lenny, of Vice President Lenny Robredo, we filed an impeachment case against her, but it has no sponsor yet. So at the moment, it is still with the Speaker Alvarez of the House. So until a sponsor comes forward, then it will stay there. Alveric asks, is it a conflict of interest? Again, hindi ko na naman nakita. When is the next Senate hearing? Eli Carrera is asking on fake news in the Senate and why only pro-Duterte bloggers are there. Well, at the time, Kokoy Dayaw received an invitation to go to the Senate on its hearing under Senator Grace Poe's committee, but he did not show up. So that is why only the pro-Duterte bloggers were there. Okay, so somebody's saying that I don't look good under these lights. Sorry, these are fluorescent lights. But if I put the lighting on in my phone, it's going to look just as bad. So I'm sorry, you're going to have to deal with this lighting until next time. I'll use a better lamp next time. Take that into consideration. Attorney, okay, anong status ni BBM protest? Again, that's another case. I've already given you the updates on that. It has not moved from there. Ballot boxes are allowed to be counted and opened in the petition of Mr. Marcos, but not yet with Vice President Robredo because she has not paid. Ano pong tingin niyo sa performance ni Duterte? Okay, last two questions. Ano po tingin niyo sa performance ni Duterte? I think that from the moment that he guaranteed free education up to the tertiary level and guaranteed health care for everybody under PhilHealth, on those alone, the president gets 10 stars out of 5. So I'm already very happy with that one. And the fact that this president is a firm believer in free speech and our constitutional rights, and the fact that he's well aware of the traps that are being laid for him, and that he has been a good strategist. For me, no matter what people say about him, and despite the mistakes, of course, I still cringe sometimes when he talks and is politically incorrect. But I think that so far all of the good outweighs the bad. Attorney, totoo po ba yung payment ni BBM? Yes, the court already acknowledged it. Okay, one last question. Attorney, does Jover need to pay bail for every libel case that she will get? If, example, 50 libel cases, if she can't pay, we should go to jail. Yes. For each person, that will be a separate case, and that person can, can allege several counts of libel. Let's say, for example lang Ms. Sasot says that she was libeled in 2 different articles, then that might be 2 different counts of libel, but that's only for Ms. Sasot. Now then, let's say, for example lang, I'm not saying that they're going to do this, let's say ASEC Padoy also files her own case, and then there are 2 instances, that's another 2 counts for ASEC Padoy. So those are 2 different instances and 4 different counts of libel, and she has to pay for bail in all of that. So if she wants to not stay in jail, that's assuming that there is a probable cause finding. Okay, so if there are no other questions, sana next in line si Inday Sara. You know what, guys? Seriously, and I'm seeing the Trixie and TP and Inday Sara for senator, president, or whatever. If you want your candidates to win, don't mention their names until it is close to election. and there is a time for selecting the candidates. If you make an announcement right now for anybody running for any office, I assure you that the political enemies will be coming out of the woodwork to try to destroy your bets. So, if you really want TP to run in 2022, do not mention his eligibility until around that time. That way we can guarantee that he's going to win. As for me, I'm completely and totally uninterested, and I have too many sins to account for, so that might not be a good idea. But I'm really happy just doing Facebook Live for you. So for those who have not shared, please go ahead and do so. And for those who just came on, there's 3,400 of you online. Interesting. Guys, if you haven't shared, please do so. Because there is 3.3 thousand of you. I'll be willing to entertain another 2 questions. Well, TP Sas and I did a can talk once, all 3 of us. 3.4 na yan. So, any other questions? Thank you very much also, by the way, for everybody who sends their love, their best wishes, and their thank yous and congratulations. I'd like to acknowledge every one of them, but sometimes I'm not capable of doing so because there's so many. So I'd like to let you know that I see all of your messages. I'm just not capable of answering all of them. I will try to get back to most of them, but as you can see, I also up to my ears all of a sudden with work. And for those who send me blessings, for those who pray for us, I'd really like to thank you very, very much for all of those blessings and all of your prayers. For that I will always accept. It's very difficult to accept compliments, but definitely that we will accept. Okay. I'm happy to announce that Senator Enrile allowed me to upload his book, his pamphlet, his little manuscript on why President Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law. So I think by tomorrow I will be posting that here. So I hope you get to read that. Ace Calonia is asking about my professional background. I think there are enough haters out there to tell you all of my sins, so you can ask them. But sige, one of these days I'll repeat. I already told everybody my background. I passed the bar in 1998, graduated from UP Law and UP undergraduate. My undergraduate degrees in linguistics. I'm taking my MA in archaeology. I have an unfinished minor in international relations, major in peace, conflict, and security. That's from the University of Minnesota. So that's the educational background. The professional background is legal counsel for the NCCA for the longest time. As commissioner, I was a commissioner of the National Commission for Culture and the Arts in the Subcommission on Cultural Heritage. I am also a conservationist, and a conservator. So there's your background. As for my sins, I'm pretty sure they're all online. Atty. Trixie, can you give us a brief explanation as to the determination of probable cause sa libel? Kailan po makakonsider ang libel as isang paninira? Okay, libel, again, is a malicious imputation of a crime, vice, or defect. So it's really very, very, fairly simple. You will hear a principle that says, for instance, that truth is not a defense in libel cases, and that is also true. Sometimes a statement or an imputation can be libelous, even if it is true when there is no reason for giving that information. So, for example, with our public officials, it is considered acceptable to inquire into their personal lives. That's not a problem. But for others who are not similarly situated, and they try to keep part of their lives private, so divulging certain details about them when there is no need to do so is considered libelous. So, for example, in the United States, for example, there is what we call the juvenile law. If you commit a crime and you're under the age of 18 and you're considered a juvenile at the time of the crime, then your records are sealed. You will probably go to jury or something, or you pay for it one way or another. After you become 18, then those records are sealed. If somebody brings it up, let's say this person was arrested for shoplifting, yada yada, there is an absolute bar against bringing that out, and that can be considered libelous because there is no purpose in giving out that information, and that information is deliberately sealed. So, Reden says, kasuhan mo po si Jover, grabe manlait. Well, okay, there's certain things like, I'm very sure that there are people who are going to file libel suits. I will certainly consider filing one on, on my own behalf for the things that she said about me. However, like the President, I am also a big believer in the freedom of speech. I feel that the freedom of speech also includes kind of speech that we don't want to hear. And if there is no purpose in filing a libel suit, if it causes people to be afraid of telling the truth or speaking their mind, then my personal decision is to just let it be, because I would much rather be maligned and hear more free speech than to hear a totally quiet internet where nothing is actually said because people are afraid. So I have taken the same stand as the President. This does not mean that I'm not filing a libel case. What it means is that my general outlook is that I'm for free speech and I'm for a free internet. But siguro, if it is to make people more aware that there's certain speech that is not protected, and if there are certain things, because I don't read her, and I don't read all of the hate sites, I don't want to add to their engagement. So generally, I don't really like, since I don't read them, I'm not that affected by what they say. So, but there are certain people who feel very strongly, and I certainly urge them, if they feel strongly that they have been maligned, that a malicious imputation has been made on them, and they feel that their reputation is ruined, or at least certainly affected by what this person says, then I strongly encourage everybody to file the appropriate libel cases. Also, if you feel very strongly against these hate sites, then please consider filing the appropriate cases, such as the violation of Article 154, or if you have personally been maligned, to file a libel suit against this person. There certainly is a public good related to that. Some people believe, and this is most likely true, some people believe that if you file libel cases often enough, people will learn to take discourse to a higher level. And to that extent, yes, I agree. Because you know what an ad hominem is? An ad hominem is an argument that isn't a real argument. It just attacks the person. So if you will recall, a few days ago, I posted that somebody had called me a bad person. Well, of course, they said something worse than that. They called me what is basically a bad person for defending Asek Mocha Uson. And my answer is this: okay, I'm a bad person, but you did not answer my argument. So we should also hold what we call ad hominem statements in the same light. Some people, when they run out of arguments, they'll just try to destroy you. But me personally, I refuse to be destroyed. I am not going to be affected by what another person thinks. I'm only affected by what I think. I want to be good faith. I want to be the good guy. And if they want to be the bad guy, they're free to do that. I'm not going to be that. I have many sins in the past that I have to atone for. So the best thing for me to do right now is just to stay good. So if they want to call me names, then, sticks and stones, as if I care. So I think it bothers them more that I don't care than it is for them, than it is for me to be affected. What's the best of pro-admin bloggers? Mr. Alfred Cayabo says, they're so professional, intelligent, at makabayan. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Attorney, sana malaman ng tunay na mastermind ng 6.4 billion na shabu na nakapasok sa bansa. I agree. Oh yes, that's one other thing that we forgot to discuss. The transfer to PIDEA of the primary obligation to go after drugs cases. Now, the PIDEA is actually the primary agency to go after drugs cases. However, the PNP is allowed to do so provided that they coordinate with the PIDEA. So PIDEA has always been the lead agency. What President Duterte is saying is that now the lead agency in the drugs operations will be PIDEA. Now, some people have said that paano yan? PIDEA seems to be such a small agency. Will they be able to do what the Philippine National Police has been doing? And my answer is this. The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency has the power to deputize police, barangay, and military in order for them to conduct their operations. So they can, the PIDEA doesn't have its own agents. What it does is they get secondment. They get assignments of police, NBI, military officials, and they are assigned pursuant to their service in the PIDEA. So PIDEA can actually ask for more personnel from the PNP and the AFP, or to deputize additional agents so that they can comply with the presidential directive to take the lead in drug operations. So there's nothing wrong with the PIDEA being the lead agency. I'm very happy that the PIDEA will be the lead agency, which is not to say I was not satisfied with the PNP. But I also like that the President acknowledged the criticisms of the manner in which the PNP has been conducting its operations, which also says a lot about the President, that he is responsive even to criticism, and he would like to comply with the requirements even of the public's concern. So congratulations. I think the President deserves kudos for that he at least adjusts his policies pursuant to the fact that he is a listening President. And that's what I like about this President, is that he does actually listen. Okay, so the other questions are now repetitive. It's okay, you know, when somebody posts an angry icon, sometimes they're just angry at the truth that I have to say, or some of the facts that I have to say. Doesn't necessarily mean they're angry at me. But then it's also okay to be angry at me. It's just that I don't see any reason why they should be right now. Nevertheless, you know, people are free to do that. So thank you. Okay, last. Okay, kamusta na ma'am yung Alex complaint? Okay, I've already answered that. We're waiting for a resolution by Senator Soto, assuming that Senator Trillanes has submitted his answer. Okay, if there are no further questions, yes, Renka asks that we talk about customs next time. Yes, we can do that. I've been avoiding talking about customs because of the possibility that I may not deliver good information to you, since Com Faldon was my client before in his mutiny cases and his cases for escape and his courts-martial. So, or that you might not find me credible when we discuss the customs cases. So maybe next time we'll do that. And next time also we'll do a further study about the statements of Ms. Jover and what possible cases she could be filing pursuant to the statements also made by former Solicitor General Florin Hilbay. Okay, thank you very much. My goodness, 3.4 thousand viewers online. I really should thank Thinking Pinoy for guesting today, for being around. And thank you very much for everybody who has always really good thoughts about me and about this Facebook Live. If you have further questions, you can just post on the wall. Oh, by one last announcement. Sometimes my messages are just too numerous that I can't get to them. And if you're going to ask individual questions about things that I post on my wall, I will answer you faster if you post it on my wall. If you post it in my messages, it might take a long time for me to see it or even to answer it, or may not answer it at all, because sometimes it's just a huge deluge, and you know, I might not have time for that. But on my wall, I will do my best to answer you if I have an answer. Okay, so thank you very much for listening and for being here. Next Saturday we'll be on again. This time it will be at 10 a.m. as we agreed upon. I apologize for being late today. Of course, if something happens during the week, we'll also do another Facebook Live. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you very, very much for all your good thoughts. And for all the hearts and likes. Wow, thank you. I'll see you again soon. Bye.